Woe to you, the teachers of the laws and the Pharisees, you hypocrites! You've given a tenth of your spices, but you have neglected the most important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Matthew 23:23.
Each one of these women and men of our armed forces are the heirs of that tradition of sacrifice, of volunteering to go into harm's way, to risk everything, not for glory, not for profit, but to defend what we love and the people we love. Joe Biden.
Devil is amongst us. Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast reclaiming faith in the context of political discussion. I'm Rev Barney, and you can follow me on most socials at Seth Roth II. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon site that you can find us at patreon.com/Heresy and Hearsay, where you can find our past shows and a way to help us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help us make this humble show. And today, with this humble show, is the voice of the voiceless, September.
Hi there, I'm September. I'm also known as Nineof12, and you can follow me at Nineof12.com. That's Nineof12.com. And you can find all my podcasts, my other work there. You can follow this show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and any podcast catcher. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, all that. And please give us a review when you've got a minute. That really helps other people find us. And you can find our first volume of this podcast on YouTube and Patreon.
So today we're going to be taking a look at some news and stuff that's came out of the DNC and afterwards. So I just wanted to give some kind of updates on some stuff that we didn't cover during the DNC coverage. So I hope that will kind of get us a little bit caught up. But before we start, Brother Bowie, can you lead us in a word of prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
So,
I love you have this in all caps in the notes. Bold.
Yeah.
Because that's how I feel about RFK Jr.
Right. The big news as far as there's been two people that have endorsed Donald Trump that's made waves. The first one and the big one that was actually running for president was RFK Jr. He made an announcement that he was suspending his campaign and that he endorsed Trump and that he wants to make America healthy again. That is his slogan.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we even start with that slogan?
A little lunatic. Yeah. Healthy. With all the weird garbage he's said.
Yeah. There's a story about how he convinced like the island of Samoa to stop doing, the basic vaccinations for the children. And there was like a huge measles or some, something like that they get the vaccines for. And there was this huge outbreak on the island because he had convinced them to stop doing it. So making healthy is like, whatever.
Yeah. I can't believe anyone supported him. And the legal stuff now, I'm surprised there's not more kerfuffle about that because he asked Trump for a cabinet position. Then he tried to ask the Harris campaign for a position. The Harris campaign apparently wouldn't even take his call, his report. They just didn't respond. And then he went and dropped out and endorsed Trump. And it's not legal to promise positions. And he has a position in the campaign, I guess, already, some kind of job in the campaign.
He's part of the transition team.
Yeah. You can't do that. That's not legal. But I haven't seen the challenge come up.
RFK Jr. Sorry.
Yeah. But, yeah. Okay. So, anybody who's going to vote for RFK and now thinks, well, then I'll go with Trump. Okay. So, do you want, if you're hearing this, for instance, you're watching us live on Twitch or you're listening to the podcast, you're looking at a difference between the Harris Walz campaign wants to extend Wi-Fi coverage and connectivity for kind of like the old days with extending electricity into rural areas. They want to make that kind of connectivity better. RFK thinks Wi-Fi causes cancer and leaky brain.
This from a guy with a dead brain worm.
Yeah. Not where it came from. He's also said really crazy shit about AIDS, which makes me angry.
Oh. Well, it's they're almost perfect because, Trump believes that windmills cause cancer. And RFK Jr. believes that, Wi-Fi causes cancer.
And he's on the vaccines cause autism train, which, again, disproven and makes me angry. As having a son and husband on the spectrum. So.
Right. I know way too many people who are on the spectrum, and that is just some utter bullshit.
Yeah. And he's doing that. I'm being censored. For calling everyone else snowflakes. Holy crap, the whining.
They make me look bad because I could whine for my country. And they're making me look like an amateur.
Yeah, it's weird. I was worried that he was just trying to be a spoiler for Dems. And then it's like he was also threatening to try and be a spoiler for Trump. And he's still talking about that in some weird ways. He doesn't even know where he is.
Well, when you find a brain worm in your head...
Yeah.
Well, I didn't post this, but there was a credible allegation about sexual assault that against his nanny or babysitter or whatever. Mm-hmm. And when he was asked about it, he said, "I was never an angel. I never claimed to be an angel." But
attention
he is trying to get... go ahead.
They're so attention seeking. They're a good pair. Trump should have picked RFK instead of Vance. I mean...
Yeah, but he wouldn't have gotten...
Instead of... Okay, I have to say it because I just saw it today. Hillbilly Vanilli.
I still like the Shillbilly. Hillbilly Vanilli. Yeah, have you seen his haircut? We'll get to J.D. Vance in a few minutes.
Okay. I'm looking at this article that you posted that you said is about animal treatment stuff, but I don't see anything in the article about it. I don't know if you put the wrong link, but
I might have put the wrong link.
But what's
I will
that
fix
about?
that. Let me find it. Hold on.
Good God.
You talk while I Google.
Okay. So, I don't know. I don't have much more on RFK. He's so absurd and weird. In the article that is here, there's stuff about, they've talked to other members of the family, and they're like, oh, his dad would be so disappointed in him, and he doesn't reflect, any of these values that we were raised with. And it's, go away. But I don't know. I don't know if the endorsement helps at all. So.
Well, also the thing is, he's trying to get off of the swing states, and like North Carolina and Michigan are telling him no. All right, so I posted the article.
The correct link. Okay.
Yeah, the correct link. It was basically an interview that they
had.
Oh,
the whale. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
I mean...
So for those that... Go.
That's weird. But my friend Scott Johnson had an interesting take on this. And it fits with that whole group of people. So there was a whale... was it back in 94? Yeah. That was beached and dead a couple hours away from where RFK was living, and he heard about it, and he jumped in the car and drove 4 or 5 hours with his 6-year-old to cut the whale's head off. So he's got this fascination apparently with skulls and skeleton, whatever, skeletal system, and he wanted this whale's head to study supposedly. So he put a chainsaw in the car and took his kid and went and cut this whale's head off and strapped it to the roof of his car and drove it home. Now, I'm a little weird, and I have friends who would collect roadkill and bleach it and study it and make things out of it, sure. But this is really extreme, and whoa, with your 6-year-old. Holy crap. When you're 6 years old, think about it. You're reading, Rainbow Fish, right? And stuff in school, and you're watching Finding Nemo or whatever, and you're watching your dad with a chainsaw on the beach hacking up a whale. I don't know. I can't imagine what the conversation was. But Scott had this interesting take. It's people who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Just don't have a concept of normalcy in some ways. He's a Kennedy. He just always had money and access to anything. And so they can't help but, they're weird and broken because they don't have real life perspective and experience. And so the concept of what's normal to anyone else, and not in the best ways, is twisted. That you would even think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go get that. That's not, people don't have the resources to go do it, or the cachet to not get arrested driving with a whale head on your car, or whatever else it's got to be violating. But it's just that perspective of just being so rich, and of course these conspiracies seem possible, I think, is related. They have no sense of reality. You think about rich people who've done well with raising their kids, done better, I think. Donald Sutherland. Nope, you're not riding my coattails. Kiefer was trying to be an actor. It's don't even tell him you're related to me. He was living in his car. I think Donald Glover did the same with his kids. Nick Cage. Yeah, you have to do this on your own. I'm not just giving you everything, you need. Being spoiled. You need to go learn how to be a person. And that's it. Well, RFK can't people. Trump, he can't people. He's got just this outside being a carny, convincing people of stuff because you just believe and know you're right. You've never been challenged on anything or had a need that wasn't met.
I mean, that makes sense because of the fact of they're so isolated anyway. I mean, you look at somebody like Tucker Carlson, for example. He is the heir of the Swanson frozen foods. And so it changes how you view people and view the world because of the fact that you are in this bubble and everybody else in that bubble is the same way. They're all rich, they're all powerful, they're kids of rich and powerful, and so it becomes a cycle of them not understanding what humanity is outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can
and
see
the
that.
Selfishness, like,
yes,
I want that whale head, like, holy God. So no, like, if you really think that research is important, donate money to an organization that does that, and then watch the studies come out. Weird. And his daughter's like, "Oh, this is day-to-day stuff for us, though." Like,
well, the daughter in the interview said that they were basically wearing garbage bags over their heads with like the mouths cut out because the spray of the goo from the whale's head would come into and just smelled horrible because it'd been dead for a little while. So you can only imagine what that does to a child's brain.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot in this article, and it's BBC, so it's well researched.
Right.
It's interesting. He's addressed the trying to unwelcome sexual advances toward his nanny. I don't remember, but I'm sorry if it made you feel uncomfortable. So one of those garbage apologies. And I was a rambunctious youth and not a church boy. Like, boys will be boys? Really? Fuck all the way off.
I mean, we know that the Kennedy boys in the 60s were a little rambunctious, but it's not the 60s anymore, motherfucker.
Oh, the dead bear cub. I didn't even know about that one. Gracious. I can't. We don't need to talk about this. I can't.
Let's move on to
He's broken. Weird. If you don't want us to call you weird, stop being weird. There's no denying that's weird. Somebody hit a bear cub like, oh, wouldn't it be funny to put it in Central Park and people would think a cyclist get it? Yeah, ha.
Oh, no.
Ha.
So the story goes that he was going to take it home and treat it for bear meat. But then he went out to dinner in New York, and then he forgot he had to get on a plane, probably Epstein's. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
It's all right.
Anyways, had to go on a plane, and so he couldn't get back to his house to put the bear in the freezer. So he put it up to where it looked like it was an accident that a bicycle ran over this bear cub.
Yeah, perfectly normal. Can we talk about the grown-ups in the campaign now?
Sure, yeah. So I do have one negative story in here and then some good positive stories.
Yeah.
At the DNC, there was a push for a certain push for a Palestinian-American to speak at the DNC, and it didn't happen. And so there are some pushback about that.
Yeah.
Because of the Gaza, and everything.
Yeah.
And I want to... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
You finish your thought, and then I have some insight from talking to people, delegates and stuff.
But my we're not going to cover Gaza or Israel because it is way too complicated. I am not a foreign policy expert. September is not. And this is one of those things that has been almost a full century of problems. So for us to try to tackle this, all I want to say is I believe that the citizens of Israel, not the government, the citizens of Israel, the citizens of Gaza, the Palestinians, and the citizens of the West Bank should be able to live in peaceful harmony, and that there shouldn't be this going on. That's all I have to say about that part, because like I said, I don't think we should dip our toe into that discussion too deep, because I don't think I am not equipped for that discussion. So
yeah, so there's a lot of political theater at the DNC. I think I talked about that last week with how roll call is handled, even though the whole thing is a show. We do that vote in the morning, and all those numbers are known, and the ballot's what counts, not saying it out loud. But anyway, it's the process. So, yes, there was this push. There were protesters outside, a whole group of people every day trying to get these Palestinian people to be able to come in and speak. It wasn't so much inside the Democratic Party a fight about doing this or not, because, well, it's not. Should they have? I believe they should have. But the party is and always has been, as long as I've known. Well, I mean, they supported the formation of Israel and have always staunchly just, that's our ally, that's our ally, that's our ally, regardless of what the people in power there are doing. There have been some strong speaking against it from, I mean, even Biden in his speech, I was like, he just said that, like the calling for a ceasefire. But inside the party, I know from years ago, anytime, even well before this war, someone representing Palestinian interests would try to pass a resolution in support of Gaza, or when something was going on, it would be stomped down. There's just, the party is, a vast majority of the party still, there has been shifts to at least some sympathy for both sides in this conflict, but they're so pro-Israel, they will not ever go against that, because and there's a fear of the minute you do that, it just goes, oh my God, they're anti-Semites, right? Right. And that's unfortunate that we can't get past and have a better dialogue about it. A friend of mine who's a DNC member was kind of shitlisted during the convention, because there was a bunch of delegates that signed a letter advocating for a ceasefire. And a bunch of delegates signed it, but then they were just kind of shitlisted and not treated differently because of it. When Joe said during the speech, like calling for the ceasefire and about writing a treaty, and how he and Harris were so concentrated on writing a treaty right now and being involved to make it happen. And my friend stood up and was clapping and excited about that, and was just getting side eye from people around him. It's that tense about ever saying anything. I mean, asking for a ceasefire is not anti-Israel. Wanting peace for people is not anti-Israel. It's certainly not anti-Semitic. I have my own opinions about what's going on with their leadership. I'm sure everyone does that thinks about it. But having someone speak is something I think the party leadership probably just couldn't consider when you're there with your faithful, true people that do the work and are, these are people that do the work on the ground. These are people that are elected to represent their communities and go be delegates. And you're hyping up and you're getting everybody fired up and ready to go. And you're concentrating on the campaign and turning it into everyone arguing about a war somewhere else isn't something they're probably worth risking.
Right.
I didn't feel it was the time to make that stand. I mean, I would have. I'm that bitch. But the party isn't. With all the progress we've made,
we are always that bitch.
With all the progressivism that has finally become represented in the party because of younger people showing up and getting involved, we're unfortunately still not there. And that's not what the convention was for.
Right.
But if you want to support that kind of thing, start going to your party meetings, pass a resolution in support of a treaty, and that's how that works. You pass that resolution at your county, it goes to the state, it goes to the, executive committee, and then it goes to the DNC until that's the policy. That becomes the party platform that, we want a ceasefire. There's a process for that. You don't just show up at the convention with it. Like
Right. And I know there was a bit of a worry because it was in Chicago, and what was it, 1968? They had the DNC in Chicago with all the riots and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a bit of a fear about that, but I wasn't worried about that.
No? Lord Dampnut didn't convince you that, everyone was being murdered in Chicago during the convention? Weirdo.
No. He's an idiot. Now some good news.
So I wish it would have happened. It didn't.
Yeah,
That's my take on why onward.
I wished it had happened too, but I also understand why, because they were doing this unity and everything else. They were bringing in independent and Republicans in. They were trying to do this unified stuff, and this is such a contentious thing that is really hard to. I don't know. It would have been detrimental to the statements that they were trying to do. I think it needs to be said on primetime television. I just don't think the DNC was the proper place for it. So
yeah.
Now a little bit of good news. Actually, a lot of good news. So first off, the DNC is suing MAGA-backed election board to try to stop them from causing confusion in the election. Rachel Maddow has been on this for months, years now, ever since the 2020 election, when they really first started changing the laws in Georgia. But now the DNC is finally sitting down and saying, hey, all right, you guys need to cut that shit out.
Yeah, this is a really dangerous idea to delay certification of results, especially in Georgia with what happened last time where Trump was calling there and trying to get all that, all his shenanigans. Like
Right.
The undermining of the security and sanctity of our voting system, it is reprehensible. I've gotten education on, I've trained for election observing. If I don't get a job, I applied for another job, by the way, in the campaign or in another thing, I'll be an election observer. Go to your board of elections and ask, become a judge in your precinct. Our system is not broken and compromised and easily screwed with. It's just not. That's all a lie. And this kind of thing that messes with the certification just makes more people, like I've got one of my kids saying, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to vote. Like, really? You grew up in my house and you think, like, oh no.
And you don't think I'm going to drive you there?
Well, it's not even that. He's moving from North Carolina to Pennsylvania right now. So either way, yes, your vote very much counts.
I even filled out the form to get the absentee ballot this week.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do that myself. And you know what? I'll say that as a pro tip. If you lack any confidence in voting, although North Carolina, I'm really pissed at our legislature right now. They made it kind of difficult because you have to provide ID to vote now here, even if it's absentee. And this whole voter ID thing is absurd because when you register, they run it and they look at your social security number and they determine you're a citizen and you're good, right? Like, people aren't showing up and voting multiple times. You can't. Your ballot's already been cast by, So even if you're absentee, you have to provide a photocopy of an ID. Like, you get a special envelope now that's got a separate section to keep the ballot separate from your identification, but you have to submit your identification. This voter ID is and always has been motivated by keeping certain people from voting.
Because it costs money for...
Yeah. Whether you have to travel, and then you're absentee, so that it should be free, but you still have to go get the ID. Oh, you can get a free ID, but you have to go somewhere to get it. And then you're supposed to get a photocopy. This kind of running around is not something somebody with 2 jobs or a lack of ID can do. And there are exceptions. You don't need an ID if you don't have one for a list of reasons. But then it's like a provisional ballot. Then they have to approve that being a good enough excuse to not submit it, and they might throw your ballot away. This isn't just a conspiracy. This is an actionable... There have been representatives quoted and recorded saying that that's why they want it. It's not something I'm making up. It's a voter suppression tactic. Mm-hmm. But if you cast an absentee ballot, just make sure you read all the directions. You submit everything that needs to be submitted. And then if you want to check and make sure it was counted, there are ways to do that. It takes a little while for it to get into your State Board of Elections system where you can look up your voting record and see it. However, there is a law, at least in North Carolina, they do this. I'm not an authority on other states. I'm sure some have similar. But on Election Day, the Board of Elections here, your county Board of Elections, posts a list of all the ballots that have already been cast, like absentee ballots that have been recorded. You can go check and make sure it was received and it was counted already. And if you don't see your name on the list, walk in and cast another ballot.
Yep.
And it'll throw it out if yours was in fact recorded. So that's a very foolproof way of making sure it gets in there if you have any doubt.
The one thing I am the most concerned is I had to do the signature online using my mouse. So I just have to make sure I match that as close as I can when I have a pen in my hand. So that's my biggest concern right now.
That's the least. We know from using debit cards in stores and stuff, and for picking up prescriptions or whatever, most of those recognition things don't really... Like, if they were to contest your ballot over it, it's unlikely to get kicked out. Like, the system, right, when they process a ballot, they put it in the machine, it kicks it out if there's, like, 2 candidates marked in the same race and you shouldn't in that one. and then a person has to look at it and judge. That's why they call election officials judges. They're judging what your intent was on your ballot.
Right.
But it's very unlikely to get kicked out for a not signature match, especially if you're doing one electronically. But I can't believe you're doing absentee. You're so big. You have always no, I'm going in person. No, I'm going in person. No matter how I've made the case for absentee and its verifiability.
Or early voting, because I would always go on election day. I don't have a car. So...
so you don't want to rely on someone having to give you a ride.
Right. So I didn't want to take a chance of not getting a ride, because I couldn't get a ride on primary day. And that pissed me off, because that was the first primary I have missed since I was 20. Because I have voted in every primary and every election since I was 18. And the first primary was when I was 20, because where I live in the county, I can't vote for the local elections because I'm outside the city limits. So I only vote every 2 years. But, I was like, I am not going to take a chance of, especially with this now becoming a battleground state, I am not taking a chance of my vote not being one of the votes that isn't counted. My brother is going to vote and is going to work for Harris Walz, and he never votes for the presidential election. He was a Bernie bro and didn't vote for 2 elections that I know of, and I don't think he voted for Obama either, or anybody he doesn't trust the presidential. He'll vote down ballot, but he doesn't vote for the presidential because he hates the electoral college. And I'm like, well, the only way we can change the electoral college is get somebody in there and then they can change it. Otherwise,
that's part of my son that doesn't plan to vote. It's part of his reasoning too. But
you could suggest to him, if it's really strong about that, at least vote down ballot.
Yep, and I think he plans to do that. But he's moving somewhere he doesn't know any of those candidates. But I'll keep pushing, believe me. You know me. Did you watch the interview last night?
I didn't know. I don't have cable. So I saw some clips.
Oh, I thought it was streaming, too. Oh,
I couldn't find it. I looked.
Well, I
it's
didn't
probably
either.
Up now.
I was just out with a friend.
So let's talk about that secondly. But I want to talk about the polls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to be clear about polling. They are a snapshot, and you need to see who is doing the poll. But even like the recent Fox poll, Fox News, the Republicans, has Harris moving up in the election, especially in states like Texas. She's cut the lead in half. So I'm not saying Texas is in play, but what I am saying is that it could help the down ballot, especially when you've got Cruz on there as a senator.
Yeah.
So
exciting.
Oh, I thought. Say that again. I apologize.
Exciting.
Yes.
I never rely on polls, but it feels good.
It does. It helps with momentum. It helps build more momentum. I feel if it's stated and couched. Oh, sorry, didn't mean couch. If it is stated properly that it is a snapshot and that you're doing good work, that the work is succeeding, but you still need to keep up the work, and you need to show up on election day or vote whatever, but it's a good momentum, helping with the momentum. Because if you're leading, then more people will be willing to give you money for the campaign, which means more staffers and more people on the ground. So I have a dream that the map will be blue, except for like maybe one state, like Reagan in '84, where he won everything. But I think it was Minnesota, because that's where who was running against him. And anyways, Mondale was from Minnesota, and that was the only state he didn't win. So I'm kind of hoping that it's a clean sweep, and it's just ridiculous, and that it's such an embarrassment that Trump has to hide, that he has to slink away. That's my hope.
Well, he's very old. I don't know that we'll have to actually worry about him running again if we beat him this time.
No, he'll be in jail. He'll die in jail.
Oh, that too.
Now, we mentioned the interview. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any clips or whatever?
No, so I'm not prepared to speak on it.
Okay. I want to touch on a question that upset me, but Harris handled it well. And then there was a question that was very good in some respects because of how Harris handled it as well. The first question was asked by Miss Bash that, how did VP Harris feel about Donald Trump claiming that she never claimed to be black until recently? And I think the answer was something like, he's an unserious man. Next question. She's just like, I'm not dealing with that. And Miss Bash was like, is that your answer? That's it. Yeah. That.
Good. Good freaking call. Like, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
Move on. Do you have a real question? I mean, yeah. I love her for that. Yeah.
I was scared about this interview because I was afraid it was going to be very right-wingish kind of questions. And they were. But Harris handled it like a champ. The other question that I saw that a lot of clips have been playing about was they asked her about her change in policy, like no fracking versus fracking, or, the Green New Deal, stuff like that. And she says that hold on, I'm trying to word it correctly, that her values have not changed. That maybe the policies have been tweaked, but that her values haven't changed at all. For example, when it comes to the fracking and everything, she was talking about how she still believes that there needs to be work on the climate and there needs to be a definitive timeline to get this stuff done. But, when she was running for vice president, she had changed her view from 2019 when she was running for president in the primary. And the other thing is that when you're in a primary, you're not, she doesn't say this, but when you're running in a primary, you're speaking to the base. You're speaking to me, who is politically plugged in all the time. You're speaking to September, who is politically plugged in all the time.
Against my will.
So, what's that? I'm sorry?
Arguably against my will, but...
Well, we talked about that when we started this podcast again.
Yeah.
But so, you're talking more to the base, and you have to be a little more conservative or liberal depending on the base. But, so I fault her not for changing some of those or tweaking them. It's not like she said no new taxes and then she does taxes. That she never said, that kind of flip flop kind of thing. Whereas policies and her views of the world evolved as she took on more jobs and more business in the government. So I think she handled that question very well. And then Tim Walz was asked about his son. And
he does.
It just the question came off as like it's hard for me to put it in words, but it just came off kind of like snarky a bit. Like, what do you think about your son crying in front of the entire world? And it's like, he said, I was very proud of my son. I love my son, and I'm glad to see that experience. So.
Yeah. Oh, I saw a bumper sticker. I want one. There's a Love Like Gus bumper sticker out there.
Yes.
Oh.
That still makes me mad.
So I'll watch, that interview. I pulled up. There are CNN Part 1 and Part 2 streams available of it. So I'll go probably watch that. I'll watch that when I get a chance. And crazy, if I believed in conspiracies, I just got a text from like a polling place asking me if I watched the interview, like just now.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
Oh, my devices are listening. Well, no crap. I give them permission. Okay.
All right. So our third big banner is Trump and Vance. All right. We're going to start with the good news for us. The first one is that...
Potentially, anyway.
Right, potentially. Is that the special counsel has said that he should be special counsel, that it is constitutional, and that the appellate court should reinstate the case.
Hey, Jack Smith. I can't believe you didn't give Jack Smith the carrot. He's been on it.
Oh. No, who did I give it to?
Reinstating this and...
oh, yeah.
Filing that other indictment? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, superseding and indictment.
Yep.
Yeah, that was good.
A dog with a bone. Get it.
He worked at the Hague.
Lock him up.
War crimes.
That was amazing. Lock him up. Oh, the snarky little grin on Hillary's face. Sorry. I got transported back to the DNC.
Lock him up. Lock him up.
It feels so good.
Meanwhile, Trump is possibly lost his mojo. That is a discussion that's going on right now. Is that they're worried about his enthusiasm. And I saw some recent speeches, because I'm an idiot and I watch a lot of his speeches. They're all repetitive in the same BS. He did a town hall with Tulsi Gabbard just last night, I think it was, as counter programming to the interview for Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. And so they would ask him a question, he would deflect it a little bit and then go on his stump speech. And I've heard the same stump speech.
Yeah.
So it's
Comrade,
he's going to get
Kamala,
slaughtered.
Comrade Kamala, Comrade.
Yeah,
Comrade.
comrade. And meanwhile, J.D. Vance decided that he also thought that childless teachers are a sign of the devil or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
And of course he hates cat ladies. You see what cats can do to a couch?
I have. That's probably why he's upset.
Going after teachers is brilliant.
Yeah. And then the one thing that's the reason why you read the quote from Biden was of what Trump did at Arlington on Monday.
Yeah, gross.
Oh, it just makes me angry. And I have watched a lot of stuff, and as this has been moving, where they called her the woman had a mental episode, and she was disrespectful and everything. The Army had to come out and say no, she was very respectful, very professional, but she's not going to press charges because she's afraid for her life, basically. So the case is closed.
But even having a campaign rally at Arlington is disgusting. And the vets I know are pissed. I heard from another one this morning. I was at like a play date with all my nerd friends. And I count this vet pissed at that. All right. Yet another one. Messed up, man. And I had the worst. I had my evil thought for the day yesterday. It was just like, well, if he's going to call our military folks suckers and losers, I guess surrounding himself with suckers and losers is on brand.
Yes, it is.
He's just... They're not, dude. Get out. I hope... Oh, God. I hope he won't be interred there just because he's the president. Can that be a thing? That'll start the zombie apocalypse.
No,
there's
so not.
Evil. No, I don't know.
There's only a couple
of
presidents
to my stomach.
that are interred there.
I made myself sick thinking about that possibility.
Yeah, no, there's only a couple of presidents. No, hopefully his sons will do exactly what he did to their mother, and just throw him on a golf course.
Yeah.
With no headstone. So it's and the picture. Have you seen the picture of him with the family standing on the grave, basically?
No.
He's standing there with the family, and he's smiling and giving his thumb up. All right. Not going to go into a rage and start cursing. I'm going to go into a rage and start cursing.
This is against the law. Why is he doing this? It's another. This is against the law. It's against the law. Stop it.
Yeah.
Why? Why is this being allowed?
Because he thinks he's above the law.
It's literally against federal law to do campaign events there in the cemetery.
He said he was there for a solemn ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
He was laying a wreath because these were the individuals that died in Afghanistan, and it was like the 3-year anniversary. I have a question. Was he there at the 1st-year anniversary or the 2nd-year anniversary?
And he wasn't even the president during that time. How is it a relevant ceremony for him to be laying a wreath? there.
Well,
that's
he
absurd.
said that a couple of families asked him to do it.
Invited him. Sure they did. Sure they did. This is the most reprehensible political theater.
Yeah.
And wow, that Gold Star families are doing this is terrifying to me. They should know better.
They should. Did you hear, and this is not in the notes, but a lighter subject, let's lighten things up a bit. Did you hear that Walz and then Vance spoke to the International Association of Firefighters? And Walz got cheers and standing ovation, and Vance got booed.
I am in no way surprised.
Well, one of the things that Vance said is like, we're pro-union, but not pro-union life. And I'm like, what's that? What the fuck's that even mean?
I don't care.
One last story that is just proving that this is all a grift is that the NFT Trump trading cards are back.
I can't.
If you buy
these cards show me dancing and even holding some bitcoins. He's like dressed as a superhero. I can't.
If you buy 15 of them, you get one physical one that has a piece of the suit that he wore on the debate against Biden. Now, one of these,
in a previous collection of these, I didn't even know about these. I completely missed that he was doing these trading card NFTs.
This is like his third set.
There's a mugshot edition.
Mm-hmm.
You cheeky bastard. Like, that's just like so... Oh my god.
And the last two editions, they've had several people, like a couple of hundred, that have bought 75 of these. Now, friends and neighbors, this is $99.99. So if you buy 75 of these at $99.99 a piece, you get to go to a dinner that Trump has at Mar-a-Lago. And you get to meet or at least hear him speak in front of you.
You know who they call me? The crypto president? Now he's pitching a platform, a crypto platform. Oh, I can't. Nope.
Did you see where he was also promoting a Bible?
Well, yeah, that was, yeah.
I just, it's like...
Yeah. Nope.
You can either do it through a credit card or Bitcoin.
No, I don't have words. I'm out of words. There's no two sides to this. This is completely insane.
Well, I guess that's all the news for today. I have stunned September.
Yeah. The levels, nope.
The level of grift that is in this.
Yeah. He needs like a straw hat and a cane and a striped suit. He's a carnival hawker.
Snake oil salesman.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, on to Carrot and Stick.
Yes. Do you have a sound clip first?
Me. What's up, Doc?
Thank you. I'll let you do the carrot.
I had already started playing it. I don't know.
I missed that.
No. So, polling, and yes, polling is about as trustworthy as someone selling snake oil. Boy, we keep saying that today. Now I want to play that game. It's one of my favorite games. Anyway, for the NC governor race is looking really good. Thank God. Even a new Fox News poll has Josh Stein up by 11. Again, a poll is only a snapshot, not what's going to happen, but it does look good so far, as long as we all get out and vote. If you haven't found it yet, there are lots and lots and lots of things going on this weekend to go get the vote out, and they need all the volunteers they can get. The only thing that makes me nervous about this is like, oh no, because North Carolina is weird, and we tend to split. Like, if we get the governor, we're not going to go for president, is the history in this weird-ass state. So...
And you know what? I'm going to say this. I would prefer that we get the governor and not the president. I would like us to do both.
I mean, both is ideal, but for this current campaign, most especially. But yeah, holy crap. Stein's opponent is a actual dangerous nut job. So, who also should be in jail. But anyway. Yay, Governor Cooper, go, go, go. And on to the stick.
Right, and the stick is to the Texas AG, Ken Paxton, who set off a set of raids against the League of United Latin American Citizens after, for the first time since they were formed, they endorsed a candidate, and we can all guess who they endorsed. And then suddenly their houses are being raided because one of the things they do is help people register to vote. They raided a house of a 78-year-old retired teacher who goes and helps veterans and senior citizens register to vote. And they took her laptops and her cell phone, and they're calling for the U.S. AG to investigate. Because according to
suppression
Paxton,
isn't real.
Yeah.
People tell me that. They believe that. It is. I've seen it. Look more.
So it's one of the things is that they are afraid of, or let me back up. Paxton is claiming that he's looking for voter fraud. The last voter fraud in 2020, the majority of that voter fraud, which was like 0.1%, if at that, was Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So that also tells you that, they are doing exactly what you said, voter suppression.
Mm-hmm.
Voter intimidation.
And they, weirdly enough, absentee ballots are often the way those attempts are made.
I'm not overly concerned about someone trying to intimidate me.
No.
But I understand.
They're not worried about you.
Understand
You're a white guy.
Well, that's true.
They have plenty of targets.
But that is all for today's show. I'm sorry I didn't do a call to action. I guess call to action is what September suggested about doing absentee ballot. I think that's a good idea, especially with busy schedules and everything. Just make sure you know what you need and make sure it's mailed off in the proper time.
Mm-hmm.
That being said,
I'd say go to mobilize.us as well. If you have some time to make some calls or write letters or go door knocking, just go to mobilize.us and look for something in your area to volunteer to get the vote out.
I agree totally. We need to make sure that we get everybody to the polls that we can. Next week, we will do a deep dive into J.D. Vance. I hope everybody's ready for that one. Does it sound like you already need a shower and you haven't even read the book yet?
Jeez. Yeah. I'm going to be away. You might be on your own.
Oh, no,
it's my birthday next Friday. You want me to do that for my birthday? Ew.
No, we'll record on Wednesday right before you leave on your vacation.
Yeah, I guess.
And next week is September's birthday, so yeah. Funny enough, we're both Virgos, so I guess that's how we work it so well.
Yep.
With that being said, thank you for joining us at Heresy and Hearsay. I'm Rev Barney, and you can follow me on the socials at Seth Roth II. You can also look for the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and podcast catcher that you use. Just Google us.
And I am September. You can follow me at Nineof12.com and connect to all of my content, or most of my content anyway, past and present. Please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/heresy and hearsay, where $2 a month, $2 can really help keep us going. Thanks for listening today, and bless your hearts. Where's OBS? Bye, everybody. Bye, Nihao.